guys, this is Chapter 5, Lessons 1 and 2. Lesson 1 is going to cover integers and graphing, and Lesson 2 will cover absolute value. Each chapter in itself is pretty quick to go through, which is why I decided to combine these two lessons. There is a good amount of information that's going to be given, but it's pretty basic and simple, but it is important that you do pay attention. So you're going to need your pencil, and we're going to start on page 345 in your Volume 1 book. This is the book that I returned to you in class just on Friday. And if you don't have your book with you, go ahead and take out a regular sheet of notebook paper so you could take notes on some of the stuff that's being presented to you. So remember, pay attention and work out examples on your own. The second part of the lesson that we're going to be doing is going to start on page 355, but I'll let you know each time what pages we're going to be on. So we're actually going to start with page 346. Now on this page over here, it talks about how to use integers to represent data. Now, data is just a group of numbers. That's what the word data means. So integers, let's talk about what an integer is. An integer, you guys, I like to think of it as a number, but it is a number that you would pretty much find on a number line. It'll be positive numbers and negative numbers, including 0. So if you notice this number line over here in the center, I want you to pay attention to 0. So we're going to start with 0 right here. So 0 is in the middle of this number line. It is not negative, nor is it positive. It's just in the middle, but you'll notice that it separates the two sides. The positive sides, which are over to the right, and the negative signs, which are over to the left, or the negative numbers. So we've all been working with positive numbers. For example, if you have 3 and you're adding 3 more to your group of stickers, let's say, you're going to end up with 6. Those are positive numbers. Opposites, which is something we're going to be covering, have to do with how far, well, opposites are numbers that are the same distance from 0, but in opposite directions. So let me explain this to you pretty easy. If I were to ask you to give me the opposite of positive 2, you would say negative 2. If I said give me the opposite of 5, you would say negative 5. If I said give me the opposite of 21, you would say negative 21. Now it works in the other direction as well. If I were to say, give me the opposite of negative 7, you would say 7 or positive 7. So let's talk about the word positive here. You'll notice in our positive side over here that I underlined, they have +1, +2, +3, +4. That plus symbol just indicates that it's a positive number. It is not required for you to use that plus symbol in front of positive numbers. You could simply just write the number. So for example, my favorite number is the number 7, so therefore I would simply just write the number 7. But if I wanted to, I could put a plus sign, but it's just more work for you to do and really is not required. Now, negative numbers, however, are a different story. If you're talking about a -4, so let's say we're talking about this guy right here, we do have to put that little minus sign in front of the 4 to indicate that it is a negative number. So you'll see that there is a difference between positive numbers and negative numbers. All right, so a little side note, you'll notice this on the side of your paper, talks about the number 0. The number 0 can have different meanings based on real-world context. Okay, sometimes 0 represents an amount that does not change. Other times 0 can also be used to represent real ideas such as sea level. All right, so let's talk about 0. Let's say you are playing a game. I don't know whether it's a card game, a basketball game, or whatever, and you have to report. Let's talk about basketball. So let's say you're shooting hoops with your friends, and you have a friend off to the side that is recording how many baskets you just made. So let's say your friend made 5 baskets, so they would go to your friend and say, I just made 5. And let's say you try to shoot some baskets and you didn't get any in. So you would say 0. That means you did not get any baskets. So it's kind of common sense. However, sometimes 0, though, like it says at the lower part of this part, says that it's used to represent real-world ideas such as sea level. All right, let's talk about the sea here. So the sea is basically at sea level. So here's our sea, our water here. And let's say we have a bird over here, you know, flying up in, I'm not very good with pictures, but let's, you get the idea. It looks like a cute bird, and I'll label him bird. All right, so you'll notice here that this bird is flying above sea level because this is the sea right over here. Well, also in the sea live cute little fishes. Okay, so here's my cute little fish. And so if I were to say that this fish is swimming, let's say 10 feet in the water, like below the water. So sea level would be on a number line, would be shown as 0. Like 0 is your sea level. But if the fish is 10 feet below the water line, then he would be at -10. Maybe this bird is flying 20 feet above where the water is. So you would just tell me that its elevation or would be at 20 or +20. So what I'm trying to say is, in real world life, sometimes 0 is shown as kind of like, the ground floor, let's say, of a house. And if you have a basement, then it would be like you have to go downstairs and it would be like below ground level, whereas an attic would be way above the regular ground level. So hopefully that kind of made sense. But you'll notice some more examples as we go on. All right, so now let's talk about situations. Now on these here, it says to write an integer for each situation and then explain the meaning of 0 in each situation. You'll notice that once we go through these, the meaning of 0 is pretty basic and pretty straightforward. So let's look at example 1. It says a 10-yard loss. All right, that means you lose 10 yards. Maybe you're playing football and you lost 10 yards. The way that you would show an integer for a 10-yard loss would be -10. And that's it, I promise. What 0 means in this situation is that you did not gain any yards and nor did you lose any yards. Basically, like you're right where you started from. Let's talk about number 2. 4 inches of rain above normal. Okay, so let's say normal rainfall is at 0. Okay, that's what normal rainfall means, 0. Well, if it's 4 inches above normal rainfall, then you would simply tell me 4. Now, this is one of the positive numbers where you could put a little plus symbol there, but really not required. Number 3, a $48 deposit into a savings account. All right, let me talk to you about savings accounts. Savings accounts are accounts that you open up with a bank. Your parents probably have one. And what they do is they hold on to your money. And people put money in there for the bank to hold on to. And people end up using it for different reasons. So when you put money into your savings account, when you add money to that account, that's called a deposit. Now, when you take money out of an account, that's called a withdrawal. So because in this situation, we're adding or we're depositing $48 into the account, it is a positive 48. But now what 0 means in this part is that you put in $0. It doesn't mean you have $0 in your account. It just means that no money or $0 was put into the bank at this time. So now it's your turn to give this part a try. All right, you guys, I know how hard these are. All right, so look at example A and B. Go ahead and pause the video and put your answers for both these examples. All right, A is a gain of $2 a share. Well, the word gain means you're adding something to it or you just received it. So that's going to be just, you guys, really a positive 2. That's it, just a 2. And remember that little plus sign, optional. B says 10 degrees below 0. All right, well, 0 indicates like 0 degrees. So since it's a below number, you need to indicate it with a negative symbol. So therefore, part B is -10. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty basic. All right, so let's look at our next page. Now we're going to be graphing these integers. Integers and sets of integers can be graphed on a horizontal. So horizontal, you guys, goes in the direction of the horizon. This is a horizontal one right here. Or a vertical number line. This is your vertical number line. So I just gave you 2 examples of what number lines look like. Now, there's no difference between the 2. One is just sideways, like left, right, and one is up and down. A lot of times you'll use a vertical one and up and down one when they're talking about sea level, because think about it, if you're going to draw the sea here, and here's your little fish, and here's your bird, so they're going to use a vertical one that way. They might be talking about a vertical one if you're talking about building a house that is going to be, I don't know, so many feet tall, and then they want to build a basement that's going to, be like below the ground level, so they might use a vertical number line in that example there. And any other example will be mostly positive, or not positive, I'm sorry, horizontal number lines, which are the ones that you're kind of used to right now as well. Oh, temperatures. Temperatures a lot of times we'll use this one right over here, because think about it. Think of what a thermometer looks like. It's got a vertical number line on there. All right, now one other thing on this is it says that when you're talking about a set of numbers that they want you to put on a number line, they are going to give it to you like this in brackets. So those cute little things that look like that I'm not very good at drawing consistently, they're called brackets. So just know that they're sort of like parentheses, but fancier. So let's figure out what they're wanting us to do with this part. Now, number 4 says graph -7 on a number line. All right, you guys, truly, truly, truly. What you would do is you would draw a number line, which I believe these will be provided for you on your book. You're going to locate -7 on your number line, and you put a dot on it. And that's it. So if you notice this first example right over here and where -7 is, see how it says -7 right there? You put a number line and that's it, or a dot on the number line, and that's it. Now remember, those dots have to touch the number line, but that's really all that you're doing with that one. Number 5 says for you to graph the set of integers, -4, 2, -1, which means you're going to put a dot at the -4. So look where -4 is on this number line. So it is right over here, and there's your dot. Then you're going to graph the number 2. There it is. And then you're going to graph the number -1. And voila, there it is. So you notice it is pretty straightforward and basic. All right, you guys, they changed it up on us now. Look at number 6. It says graph the set of integers 0, 2, -3 on a vertical number line. All right, you guys, you see what they did here? 0 right there. 2 is right there. And -3, voila, right there. So you can see how basic and straightforward this lesson kind of is. All right. Oops, I went too far. Now it's your turn. Nope, I still went too far. All right, now it's your turn for real to give this a try. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and pause your video, and I want you to graph C on this number line right over here, and then D is going to be on this number line over here. And all you're doing is putting dots, nice, solid, closed circle dots. Really, that's it. So pause now and come back and check your work. Oh, back so soon. All right, so first number is -3. There's my dot. Then 0, -2, and 4. Oh, 4. There we go. I kind of was off. Remember, it's kind of hard to use a stylus on these things. And for example D, we've got the number 8. So it's a +8, so it's way up here. And then we've got -6. Then we've got -9. Uh-oh, this was a tricky one. Think about where -9 would be, you guys. -9 would be between -8 and -10. So I would put a dot right between those two numbers. And then the number 5. And once again, that's another tricky one. 5 is located between 4 and 6. So I would put a dot right there. So hopefully you did well on those. All right. Now, this is a golfing question. It says here, Elena and her dad played golf on 4 different days. The data set, -1, +1, -3, +2, shows Elena's scores in relation to par. Graph the scores and explain the meaning of 0 in the situation. All right, so I'm sure a few of you know a little bit about golf. I know a little bit about golf, but I also know what par means. Now, in golf, you want to have the lowest number. So to have the lowest score, the lowest number, means that you had an awesome time at golf. Now, when you guys go and play putt-putt, if you've ever gone to like mini golf or putt-putt, they might have a little sign that says par 2. What that par, P-A-R, word means is that you should be able to get your golf ball in the hole in 2 swings or 2 strokes. And that's what that means. Now, if you get it in 3, then you're at a +1, meaning you had to take 1 extra stroke above the 2 that they were giving you. Maybe you get a hole in 1. So if you get a hole in 1, so if it's a par 2 course or par 2, meaning you should swing you should get your golf ball in 2 tries, but you get it in the first try, that means you're at a -1. That's a very good thing. So in golf. So in this example here, what 0 means is that you made par. That means you were just normal, average, good. All right. You really don't want to have, positive numbers in golf. Well, you will have some positive numbers in golf, but you really want to, have the lowest number possible when you play golf if you don't already. So on this one here, you're basically just graphing the numbers exactly like we did on the previous 2 examples. But I think they just wanted us on this one to explain like what golf is and what par means. So just keep that in mind because you might have some future questions about golf. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Now, I want you guys to work on questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, on these, you guys, you are simply and truly just giving me the integer, and then just tell me what 0 means real quickly. So once you finish doing these 5 simple questions, which probably should take you, I honestly think they'll take you about 2 whole minutes, if that long, go ahead and then keep watching the video because we're about to get into section 5.2. All right, so if you're on 5.2, that means you already did that guided practice. We're going to be looking at page 355. Now, in this lesson, so this is where 11.2 starts. I'm sorry, 5.2 starts. So in this section, we're going to talk about absolute value. You guys, absolute value, the way I think of it is how far away a number is from 0. A lot of people think absolute value is like opposites, and it really isn't. It isn't opposites, but you'll see how they're very similar, but they really are not opposites. So it really means how far away you are from 0. So let me give you an example. So over here, notice this house right over here in the center. So and here it says each mark on the number line indicates 1 yard. So for example, this is 1 yard away from the house, 2 yards away from the house, 3 yards away from the house, and so forth. So don't think of this as a positive or a negative, like where these are 1, 2, 3, and -1, -2, -3. Don't think of it like that. Think of like this is where your house is, and it says to draw a tree. 3 yards west of your house. All right, so that means we're going to go ahead and draw our tree 3 yards away from our house. So here's my tree. Voila, there's my cute house there. And then it says to draw a mailbox 3 yards east of your house. That's a far mailbox. That's like, well, actually it's not that far. 3 yards is what? 3 feet times 9, 9 feet away. So that's really close. So then you're going to draw a mailbox. And I know they have little flags, don't they? So let's draw a little flag on this mailbox. You get the idea. So you got your mailbox here. So now, question number 2 says, the distance between the house and the tree is, so we're talking house to the tree, is 3 yards, because they said that each mark was 3 yards long. And 3 yards, oh, I'm sorry, go back. Sorry, they want you to put the word same. They want you to put the distance between the house and the tree, so this distance right here is blank, the distance between the house and the mailbox. They want you to say that they are the same exact distance away. They just happen to be in different directions, even though they are still 3 yards. So then question number 3 says, the tree and the mailbox are in opposite directions. From the house. And then it says, how does the number line above help you understand absolute value? Well, we're going to talk about absolute value a little bit more on the next screen. Basically, it's saying is this, that this is your house, it stays put. Now, whether you have your mailbox in front of your house, which all of us have mailboxes in the front of our houses, and then some of us have trees behind our houses. I don't. I have a tree in front of my house also. But it's saying that, you would never say that your tree is negative 3 yards away from your house. You would simply say that your tree is just 3 yards away from your house. So just keep that in mind. All right. So opposites. So in our previous lesson, I already kind of mentioned opposites and what you would do with them. So if I were to say, hey, give me the number 2, put a dot at the positive 2 on your number line, and then I said put a dot at its opposite, you would then put a dot at its opposite, which is like way over here. So once again, opposites, there's nothing different in this lesson about where the opposites are. Just a reminder about 0, it's neither positive nor negative. And it's just saying that, if I have the number 5, so example, I have the number, let's say I have number 5, and I want you to give me the opposite of number 5. Well, this screen is telling us that the number 5 is 5 spots away from 0, and therefore negative 5, which would be on the left side, would be the same 5 spots away from 0. And that's all that's really saying. But opposites, pretty straightforward and basic. All right. So question number 1 says, find the opposite of negative 5. Use the number line to draw the number line. This is the example that I just did for you, actually. So you can kind of see the opposite of negative 5, you guys, would be positive 5, which is right here. And then method 2 says, use the integer negative 5, or the negative 5 uses a negative symbol. The opposite of a negative symbol is a positive symbol, which would be the plus 5. So if it's asking you to give you the opposite of a negative 5, it would mean that you can give me a little plus 5 like that, or simply the number 5. And remember, these are things that I covered about 5 minutes ago earlier in our lesson. And then question number 2, same thing. Find the opposite of 4. The opposite of 4, you guys, would be negative 4 on this one. Now remember, with negatives, you have to write that minus sign in front of it. All right, you guys, go ahead and give A and B a try. So question A says, what is the opposite of 3? That would be negative 3. Question B reads, what is the opposite of negative 2? Whoa, okay, here's the deal. Let's start with negative 2. That's the number that they gave us. And now it's asking us for the opposite of negative 2. The opposite of negative 2, you guys, is positive 2. But then it wants the opposite of that guy. So then we're right back where we started with, negative 2. So hopefully that didn't really kind of trick you because it said the opposite of negative 2. So I always like to take it one step at a time when it gives me questions like that. All right, so absolute value. So now we're at the top of your next page. Absolute value we talked about is how far away something is from 0. Now, with absolute value, you're going to notice that it's going to be written like this. So, for example, if I have the number 4 and I have these brackets that the 4 is inside of. These brackets mean absolute value. It's a question. So it says, hey, what is the absolute value of 4? Which really it's saying, how far away is 4 from 0? And you would tell me, oh yeah, it's 4. And your answer would look like this. You do not put the brackets back in your answer. But maybe, just maybe, I might give you this in your brackets. And I say, hey, what's the absolute value of negative 4? Well, what I'm really asking you is, how far away is negative 4 from 0? And you would say, it's 4 spots away. And that's what your answer would look like, with no brackets there. So when you see those brackets, okay, they're like the question that say, what's the absolute value of what's inside of me? That's all that those brackets mean. You do not put the brackets in your final answer at all, or it's like you asking me the question, and we're not going to be doing that. All right, so since distance cannot be negative, the absolute value of numbers is always going to be a positive number or even 0. So you would never say, that something is negative 3 feet away. Think about how I did that example with the tree. You never would say that, oh yeah, your tree is negative, 3 yards away from your house. You would just say it's 3 yards away, even if it's behind the house. All right, so now evaluate. This is what this means. So over here, you've got evaluate negative 7. So you've got the absolute value of negative 7 is just saying, hey, what's the absolute value of negative 7? And you would simply say 7. That's it, you guys, just 7. Don't put any brackets around it, just the number 7. Number 4, now this is where it changes up. They want you to actually add stuff here on this one. Now this is what's important. So they give you absolute value of 5 plus the absolute value of negative 6. So here, the absolute value of 5, you got to do each thing individually. So you're just going to take care of this guy first. Absolute value of 5 is 5. Then you're going to take care of this guy. Absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Now add the two guys together. 5 plus 6 gives you 11. Next, number 5 says evaluate the absolute value of negative 7 minus the absolute value of 3. All right, so in the first box, this guy right here, they want you to put the absolute value of negative 7. So hopefully you all put 7 because it really is just 7. Now it wants us in this box right here to put the absolute value of 3, which is just 3. Now you're going to subtract 7 minus 3. and you get 4. So you will have to do a little bit of adding on some of these or subtracting, but just remember that when you see those absolute value brackets, do what's inside of them first, and then go through and proceed with everything else. So just kind of think of them as parentheses. All right, so go ahead and pause your video and try these on your own, and when you unpause your video, we will go through it. All right, so example C says, what's the opposite, or the absolute value of 14? That answer is just 14. Nothing more, nothing less. Notice I didn't put any brackets around my 14. Example D, the absolute value of -9 is 9. The absolute value of 3 is 3. So when I do my 9 plus 3, I get 12. And E, absolute value of -8 is 8. Then I'm copying my minus sign because it's right there. And the absolute value of -2 is 2. So I get 6. And that's it. You're done. All right. So in this one here, same situation, talks about this seagull. And I kind of gave you the information about the fish and the bird earlier in the screen, or earlier in this lesson. It says a seagull is flying 25 feet above sea level. Neva is diving 15 feet below sea level. What is the distance between Neva and the seagull? All right, so you guys, sometimes it helps to draw a picture on this. So here's my sea level here with my red water, and here is this person swimming. Maybe he's snorkeling. Okay, well, that's a swimmer. And then you have your bird up here. So what this is telling us is that the bird is 25 feet above sea level. So here's my 25 feet. And then it's telling me that my person here is swimming. Let's choose a different color that you guys can see better. And my person down here is swimming -15 feet below sea level. You don't want to do 25 minus 15 for this because it really wants to know how far away is this cute bird from this handsome swimmer way down here. So you would end up doing the absolute value of these numbers, which is what they did right here. So you would end up doing 25 plus 15. So they are 40 feet away from each other. All right, you guys, so we're about done. So what I want you to do is go ahead and do questions 1 through 5 on this guided practice, and make sure you've completed the earlier guided practice. And that's it. We covered 2 lessons. I know this video was a little longer than usual, but hopefully you found that the concepts were pretty straightforward and basic and not very challenging this time. We'll see you guys back in class.